Hey guys, what's up? Cardfight here, and today I'm here with a Chaos Breaker Dragon deck profile. This is an updated deck with the new cards from the GP05, and the deck right now is doing pretty well in Japan. It's quite a competitive deck, and yeah, let's just get right into the deck profile. So next, for starting Vanguard, we're running Carbon. Carbon is the new starting Vanguard that star-vaders have. And the skill is put this card into soul. If your opponent has a locked unit, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for a unit that is not named Carbon. That's a Star-Vader, grade 1 or lower, and call it to your Vanguard circle. And then shuffle your deck. So basically, he's used to toolbox for grade 1s when your opponent has a locked unit, which is not very hard to do. So yeah. Next, we're running 4 Chaos Breaker Dragons. Chaos Breaker Dragon is the ace of the deck, and he's pretty much what makes this deck work. You generate a lot of hand advantage with him, and yeah, basically, his skill is Limerick 4, so boss 1 star-vader unit. And then during your opponent's end phase, when they unlock a card, you may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card and kill that unit. Kill the unlocked unit. So then his second skill is kind of lost 1. Choose a star-vader unit in your hand and discard it. And then choose one of your opponent's units and lock it. And then this skill cannot be used again until the end of turn. Until your next turn. So Chaos Breaker Dragon is the Vanguard that you want to be in most of the time. His Soul Blast skill is pretty good. It's people often compare him with Amnesty Messiah, and in my opinion, they have different purposes. So for Amnesty Messiah, you can, as long as your opponent unlocks a card, then you can draw, but then you don't get to kill the unit. And then Alter Ego Messiah. While Chaos Breaker Dragon can only do it during your opponent's end phase. So if you are playing a mirror match and they use if they use Amnesty on you, if they go Amnesty on you, then you can't gain advantage from doing that. So, there's pros and cons. Good thing about blah, blah, blah. Chaos Breaker Dragon is that your opponent can't try to grade lock you, since you'll be able to activate Limit Break if you have the Limit Break enabler. Alright, so next we're running four Chaos Star-Vader Chaos Bringers. Chaos Bringer is the new card, a new rare that came out in the Moonlight Dragon Fang, and his skill is Limit Break 4, kind of lost 1 during your opponent's main phase. At the beginning of your opponent's main phase, you will pay the cost. If your opponent has 2 or more locked units, then you may pay the cost. And then you can search your deck for a Chaos Breaker Dragon and ride it as stand. And then his second skill is kind of lost 1 star-vader unit. When this card is placed on the Vanguard circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your opponent's regards and lock it. So there are situations where you want to ride Chaos Bringer first, even if you have Chaos Breaker Dragon in your hand. Simply because if you're going to Stride for that turn, you want to get his on-ride lock and then Stride, so that you can go into Judgment Messiah, hit, and then your opponent will have 2 lock cards, so that you can use his kind of last one and ride Chaos Breaker Dragon the next turn. Because if you just ride Chaos Breaker Dragon, there's a very high chance that you will have no access to any of your rear guards or their skills that turn, because he doesn't have a on ride lock, and his only lock is from is when you ride Judgment Messiah, and in that case, you'll already be in your battle phase. Alright, so we run 4 photons for our grade 2s. When this guy's placed in a rearguard circle, if you have a star-vader Vanguard and your opponent has a locked card, you can choose one of your opponent's rearguards and lock it. So, on top of your opponent's locked unit, you just call this guy and lock another one. So, he's another card that you can help achieve the 2 lock requirement for Chaos Bringer. For example, if you do Shride, then you're gonna you ride Chaos Bringer, counterblast 1 lock card, call Photon, lock another card, and then your opponent during your opponent's main phase, you'll have 2 units. Your opponents will have 2 units locked, so that you can activate Chaos Bringer and ride what's his face, Chaos Bringer Dragon. So next we're running 4 of the new common. His name is Iron, and his skill is when this card attacks, if you're a Chaos Vanguard, during this battle it gets plus 2k, so it's an 11k attacker. And the second skill is when this card's placed on a rearguard circle, and you have a Chaos Vanguard and your opponent has a locked unit, you can pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and lock it. So again, this deck heavily relies a lot on having your opponent having a locked unit already. So that's another reason why you would probably ride Chaos Bringer over riding Chaos Breaker Dragon first, even if you have Chaos Breaker Dragon in your hand. You would not want to ride Chaos Bringer if you don't see any Chaos Breaker Dragons left in your deck. For example, if you damage check a bunch of them and you have a bunch of them in your hand, then it's probably wise to ride Chaos Breaker Dragon first. So yeah, so we're running 4 Iron, and then we're running the MVP. It's a very good card. Colony Maker, counterblast 1 when this card's placed on a rearguard circle. If you have a Link Joker Vanguard and your opponent has a locked card, you can pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for a star-vader, grade 1 or lower rear unit, and call it to your rearguard circle. So Colony Maker also helps you toolbox your deck. Yeah, most of the time you're gonna look. Grade 1s are very good in this deck, so that you can search for whatever you want. One of the options is Zinc. Zinc is another new common that came in the GPT-05, and her skill is move this card into Soul if you're Chaos Vanguard, and your opponent has a locked unit. Again, counter charge 2 and then Soul charge 2. So running 3 Zincs. Zincs helps you replenish your counterblast as well as building up Soul so that you can use Chaos Breaker skill more often, since you won't have to rely on the unit's road to use his counterblast. So his Soul Blast. And then next we're running 2 Bolt Line Dragon. Not Dragon, just Bolt Line. Star-Vader Bolt Line. Skill is when this card boosts and hits during a battle that this boosts a unit that attacked Vanguard. And you can choose one of your opponent's locked rearguards and Omega Lock it. So this card is good because if you don't have any ways to relock, then he puts a lot of pressure on your opponent. And if you do land a hit, for example, if your opponent has 2 units, you choose one to Omega Lock, so that when the not Omega Locked unit gets unlocked, you can use Chaos Breaker Dragon skill to kill it, draw a card, and still use other cards that require having a locked unit on the field. It's usually not a problem, but in case. And your opponent probably doesn't want their shit to get Omega locked, so they're probably going to guard attacks where Bolt Line is boosting. And then we're running 2 Limbrick Enablers. This card is also quite important. A lot of times you're just going to search for him with the starting Vanguard because you want to be able to use Chaos Breaker Dragon as early as possible. And you also want to use his Limbrick as early as possible so that you can search for Chaos Breaker Dragons. You want to be able to put that gain that card advantage early on, and not just when you're in Limerick 4. So running these is very good. It might be a problem against decks that have Rewind and Burns, but against Rewind it's not as big of a problem because you just call it back out with Colony Makers and whatnot, but yeah. It'll be gone for that turn so that you can't use Chaos Breaker Hand, but not too big of a problem. And then we run 3 Destiny Dealers as the Stride Enabler. Striding is pretty important in this deck, so yeah. And then running 4 Perfect Guards. This is the star-vader Perfect Guard. A lot of people like to run the Perfect Guard Gs. In my opinion, I just like running these because it's a bit more consistent. If you do end up running this, you can still Soul Blast it with Chaos Breaker Dragon's effect. So yeah. Triggers, we're running 16 crit. JK, we're running 12 crit. 12 crit, so we're running 4 of the new crit. Skill is put this card to the top of your deck. If you have a star-vader Vanguard and your opponent has a locked unit, you can choose you can choose a back row rear guard that your opponent owns and then lock it. So you need to have your opponent needs to have a locked unit in order for you to lock another unit in the back row. And then we're just running vanilla triggers for the other crits. So 12 crits. The reason I'm running 12 crit is because this card can generate enough advantage on its own so that you don't need to draw into draws. And then of course we're running 4 heals because heals are heals. So yep, let's get back into the G zone. Sorry, I'm a bit jittery today because just finished like 2 assignments and I'm trying to stay awake. Right, so we're G zone. We're running 1 Judgment Messiah. Skill is when this card attack hits, you can choose one of your opponent's rear guards in the back row and lock it, and then choose one of your rear guards and unlock it. We don't lock our own rear guards in this deck, but if you play against a mirror match, he's still handy. We're running 1 Amnesty Messiah. This card is used in mirror matches. Comes in very, very handy actually, especially against the decks that play Omega Glendios. Reverse is a thing now again, apparently. So yeah, Amnesty Messiah is quite the good card to run. And then we're running 2 Big Crunch Dragon. I think his name is Big Crunch Dragon. Big Crunch Dragon skill is counter +1, G Persona Blast, and then if you have 2 or more face-up cards in your G zone, choose one opponent's rear guards, and then lock that card and the another card in the same column as that card, and then Omega Lock it. So basically, yeah, you just lock a whole column. It's Omega Locked. A lot of times you're not going to ride this, you're not going to try into this first. You're going to use up all these first before you do anything. So, yeah. So running 4 Chaos Universe. Skill is once per turn, counter +1. G Persona Blast. If you have a Chaos Heart, your opponent chooses a card in their hand and calls it in lock position. You get to choose which where they place it, and then if you have 2 or more face-up cards in your G zone, then you can choose one of your opponent's rear guards and lock it. So how his effect works is, for example, I'm playing against it. He declares his skill, and he wants me to lock. Let's say if this is my Vanguard. These are my rear guards. Very nice field. He's like, okay, actually no, let's just say, yeah, so my rear guard's like this. Let's just say, all right. Ignore that he's in grade 4 and I'm grade 1. Doesn't matter. Alright, so do that. Alright, so he's like, alright, you have to, I choose here, so you have to lock something here. So I'll be like, oh, damn. So you just pick a card in your hand. You get to choose, but a lot of times it's going to be destroyed, so you're going to call something that you don't need. And then they go, Okay, lock it. And then if they have two face-up cards in the G zone, then he can choose another card and lock it. So he just locks this. So I'll be two front row. Both my front row cards will be gone. So a lot of plays that you can do is if your opponent has two cards in the front row, a lot of times you're not going to chaos break both of them. It's not a very good play that way. A lot of times you're just going to go break one card. This card unlocks. Right, say your opponent's like that. It's a bit confusing, but whatever. So here. So this is my opponent. This is me. So you have he has two cards locked, and then it's the end of his turn, and then he unlocks both of them. What you would normally do is break one of them, so that on your turn, you can re-stride into Chaos Universe. Use a skill. He chooses a card from his hand to lock in. It's like lock, and then you can use his the second part of his effect to lock this, so that he'll have his front row disabled again. His two front rear guard columns. I have seen players at my locals that chaos break both units, and I'm just like, oh, wow, thanks. I have one more column to use now, and that's usually what costs them games, especially if you're playing against like stuff like Gear Chronicle or whatnot. Yeah. That is pretty much all I have to say for this deck profile, I guess. Again, sorry if I seemed a little bit out of it. I've been pretty out of it recently, so bear with me until December. Then I'll be a bit more free again. I'll be on Christmas break, so I have more time to make videos and whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck profile, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!